This program is made possible by the loyal financial support of the friends and partners of Family Policy Institute.
You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world.
Good evening and welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we're going to be talking about a very important topic that is not discussed much in the media or even in churches, and that is access to pornography or the pornographic scourge that is gripping so many of our people, young people, adults as well, people in churches. Pornography and pornography consumption and pornography addiction is a huge problem in our nation. And the best person I could get to talk us through all of this is Chantelle Blokdyk, who is the program director for Parent Talk. So Chantelle, welcome to the program and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Errol. Thank you so much for inviting me to this conversation. I think it's a very important.
I thought about you when I read the stats of porn and children being exposed to porn at younger ages, and the fact that child-on-child sexual abuse and rape is increasing in our country. I was just looking at the stats on teen pregnancies, and it is horrific. 136,000 girls from age 10 to 19 getting pregnant in our country. And every year since 2017, it has been increasing, alarmingly so. And we know consumption and exposure to porn has a lot to do with this. The way women are treated, gender-based violence, and obviously they're not talking about this in the media. And you've got so much experience and knowledge because you work in this field, helping to create awareness, to help parents protect their children. You do amazing work, Chantelle. And you're part of the Case SA Center Against Sexual Exploitation South Africa. Tell us a little bit about that organization and the work you're doing.
So it really is just a group of people that got together and have started this movement to create awareness and education in South Africa, specifically on our home ground. And that powerful conference that you and I attended in 2016 was really the beginning of a huge journey for me personally, but I'm really excited to be a part of this because it's saying we love South Africa. We are being relevant for South Africa because we have our own unique challenges. And so let's talk about that when it comes to sexual exploitation and what that looks like in our country, because
Absolutely.
It's different.
Yeah, and the conference you're referring to in 2016 that we both attended, my wife and I, you and others from South Africa, was the Global Summit on Sexual Exploitation. And we learned so much. Some of the top people fighting this issue in the world attended that conference. And I was shocked, stunned, amazed by some of the presentations, and I'm sure you were, that we heard there, and the amount of people in churches, outside of churches, children at 7, 8, 9 years old, addicted to pornography and the terrible impact and effect that is having on their lives. So, Chantelle, tell us a little bit about your research, the work you're doing, and the stats you're seeing currently in this country regarding pornography. You can first tell us about that, and then after that, we want to talk about some of the solutions, how you can help parents and adults fight this thing and reduce consumption of pornography and addictions.
So I think the main service provider for pornographic material is called Pornhub, and they have had a 24% increase in traffic since COVID lockdown. So we're looking at an international issue, but specifically in South Africa, we were already in 2018, I think number 19 or 20 in the world for the largest and the biggest consumption of pornographic content on our continent. So that was already a red flag for us, the issues that South Africa has with gender-based violence, and now the exposure that children are having to pornography And time again, we are trying to connect the dots between all forms of sexual exploitation, trying to educate South Africans why it's so important, why it is not just oh, men will be men, or why it's not just entertainment, why it's not just, I'm not hurting anybody, I'm just watching something. We're trying to tell people and create awareness that this is actually affecting your mind, and inevitably, physiologically, mentally, emotionally, it's affecting human beings. And as we see through the research, in a negative way, we have only seen areas that have had the most pornography consumption, where people have seen the most. We have seen those acts creating sexual violence and abuse and addiction in those same communities.
Yeah, Chantelle, the argument is often made by people protecting pornography, where we've been calling for laws that would block pornography coming into our country because of the devastating effect it's having on all kinds of people, children, adults, the breakdown of marriage, families. And they're saying it's a victimless crime. And that argument, I think even our government buys, because they haven't made any move to try to deal with the situation. Is it a victimless crime?
Absolutely not. There's no guarantee that what you are watching or who you are watching is there out of their own will. There is no guarantee of that. You have no idea if that person is being exploited, if they're drugged, if they're manipulated or coerced into that situation. We have no idea. We also have no idea who the content is shown to. An innocent child that has no context, that is being groomed to show this is what you should be doing, this is what I want you to do. It's absolutely not a victimless crime. And there is content. This is what gets me the most, Errol, is that there is content out there that if it had to happen in real life, in real time, it would be criminal. But yet, this world, as technically advanced as we are, is allowing much of this crime on a screen to be freely available and accessible for any human being. And It's just not fit for human consumption.
No, it isn't. And I think the research is overwhelming on the harms of pornography. And some of the fights by the Center on Sexual Exploitation in Washington, D.C., our friend Dawn Hawkins is doing, has proved that, Pornhub, the kind of sites that they administer, that show women being raped, women being tortured, and all kinds of things, it leads to sexual exploitation, it leads to trafficking in young girls. Yes. Pornography is linked to all of this. Prostitution, pornography, sex trafficking are all interlinked. And there's people making millions and millions of dollars off the misery of these vulnerable people. Yes. So Chantelle, tell us what you're doing, to stop this, to make people aware, how you can help parents in particular to protect their children from access to pornography, because we know pornographers target children through education networks, through online networks, because they know so many children are online now because of the lockdowns and schools being virtual and all of that, targeting children. So parents need the knowledge on how to protect their children from accidentally logging onto a porn site, and then children being curious begin to start developing a kind of need or fascination with pornography. How do you help parents?
Well, the main issue on my heart is education, because I think once parents know what their children are inevitably or could be exposed to, I feel like that's when they take a sober stock of what's going on in their home. Because many parents that have no context for this, they never grew up in this sort of digital age, They are thinking maybe, if their 10-year-old boy types boobs into Google, he's going to come up with a topless lady with a cigar. And it couldn't be further from the truth. It's abusive, it's degrading, it's criminal, as we've said. So for us, for me personally, education is key. Parents need to know, caregivers need to know the dangers that are out there. Once they know that, then they can really take action and have the conviction to do something about it and to be assertive. You see, so many families are so busy today and so preoccupied, and there's so much distraction that children are often pushed in front of screens. And so it's really my heart to start that fire of education and then empowerment and eradication of pornography in our homes, in our lives.
And I agree with you, Chantelle, because I've seen the stats on how many children are exposed to pornography, and that most parents are not aware of what their children are, watching online. And only later, when it becomes a problem, then they awaken to this threat of hardcore pornography on computers, online. It's so easy for children, even on their devices, and just about every child has a smart device, and it's so easy to access this. And the bigger threat being that porn merchants are targeting children because they're looking for more customers, and younger. Once they got you addicted, they're growing up and they paying to access all kinds of degrading and destructive images. So what are some of the tools that parents can use, Chantelle, to protect their children from access?
Yes, so there are filters and blockers. They're very, very good ones. They're ones that you can, it's not they're not sold as policing equipment. They're more monitoring. We're discipling our children on how to be digital citizens. And so that is what we're going with. We want to show them how to, because it's not a case of if they will be exposed to pornography, it's when. We need to prepare them. Preparation is protection. And so we're preparing them to be responsible digital citizens. And so filters and blockers are our number one defense. And then after that, it's conversations, a lot of conversations, talking about things so that you can be your child's first reference point instead of Google. And I think I must just highlight to you quickly a very serious situation that's come up a few times this year is that child-on-child abuse is escalating. So, again, with the education, parents need to know that it's not a case of if your child is safe with another adult. It's now a case of if your child is safe with another child.
Yeah. Chantelle, can I just come in there? We need to go for a break, but I want to talk more about that and in particular the book you've written, because I know there's lots of great information in that book that helps parents and equips them to deal with the situation. So don't go away. More with Chantelle Blokdyk of Case SA after the break. Welcome back to the program. I'm speaking to Chantelle Blokdyk about a very important topic, and that is pornography. Children accessing pornography, children being addicted to pornography, and the harm and destruction that causes in society. So Chantelle, welcome back to the program. Again, the work you're doing is so critical. I don't think many people watching this program will realize just how important and critical the work you're doing, because this is a kind of hidden problem. People don't want to talk about it. It's always in the dark. People are ashamed. So many men are addicted to pornography online, hardcore, degrading, terrible stuff. I mean, we're talking about gender-based violence in South Africa. We've got to ask ourselves, what are some of the issues that drive it? And pornography is right there, up there with the way women are portrayed in the media and in pornography as subservient. Women are always treated badly, portrayed as sex objects, degraded, dehumanized, and men, consuming this on a regular basis, obviously have their minds are shaped. They have a certain idea of what women are, and they treat women the way they see them in pornography now. Now, a lot of people in the liberals that's promoting what they call freedom of expression, although they decry gender-based violence, they won't be honest about this topic of pornography and how it portrays women in the media, sometimes in Hollywood movies. It has a very, very destructive role in the lives of all people. So you wrote a book talking about all this, and also how parents can protect their children. What is that book called?
It's called Parents in Pursuit of Purity.
So what is in that book that can help parents and children?
So the book is really for parents to understand the issue of pornography today. It really contains all the research that I've done the last few years, including my perspective on it from a biblical perspective. I am a Bible-believing Christian, so the book is written in a biblical perspective. I always say it's everything that a Christian parent needs to know about pornography and how to keep their children safe from the sexual sabotage in our culture today.
Yeah, you spoke about filters that people can download on their computers, devices. Do you have names of some of those?
Yes, we've got a local service provider, IME Movement, and they have Custodio, which is an internationally recognized software program.
I know the IME Movement, and we'll put their information on the screen right now so people can perhaps go to their website and download some of the software that they're putting out there that will help parents. But so in your book, so you've written about all these issues. It gives parents good information on how to protect their children. So how do people get hold of that book, Chantelle, parents that interested in purchasing it?
In South Africa, you can get a physical copy directly from me. I will send it to you. And then it's also on an ebook for anybody in the world.
So tell us a little bit more about Case SA, or the Centre Against Sexual Exploitation, South Africa. Tell us the work they're doing and how people can get information through that organization.
Yes, so you can go to our Case SA website, or more specifically our Parent Talk website, which is what I'm involved in, and it's unspokenepidemic.co.za. You can find out all the information there, and we really are confronting and creating awareness around sexual exploitation, specifically to South Africa and for South Africans, and how to stop it. And our focus at the moment is really around child protection.
Yeah. Now, then again, we know that this is a problem in the church, that men going to church, attending church every Sunday, are struggling with the issues of porn addiction or porn consumption, right? You remember at the conference in America that we attended with a prominent Christian leader gave a presentation, Josh McDowell, and he said that even pastors are sometimes consuming pornography, and he said in the United States it's up to 57%. That was such a shocking stat, I almost fell off my chair. But they did the research, and he's sharing the truth that because this thing is so hidden, people are not confronting it, and they're not talking to other people about it. And if we can get this out in the open, especially in a church environment, where men can talk to each other in a trusted and confidential manner and be helped, because that's what we need. We need to help men, and there's increasing number of women now accessing and consuming pornography, and this is having a terrible effect on human sexuality, on relationships, on marriage, this important, critical relationship that is the glue that holds society together, and of course on children. It just touches every aspect of society. So the question, Chantelle, is, do you speak at churches? Are you available to speak about this issue at church groups, at women's groups, and even to men, you and your husband?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, across the board. And if we can't, we have trusted partners and friends in this movement that are also very willing and able. So we've created and we've collaborated with quite a few trusted people now in South Africa. And I must say, it's quite exciting to see what's going on. It's been growing the last few years, the movement against pornography, specifically in the church arena, and empowering the church, educating the church, and saying, let's have some more accountability in this area. We're not just going to let anybody come in and teach Sunday school. We're not just going to let anybody get up there and preach. We're not just going to let anybody, take leadership roles without proper accountability, and even software accountability. I mean, I remember that Josh McDowell said he would not step foot in a church where the pastor did not have internet accountability. Remember that?
Yes.
He said
yes.
that.
Yeah. So, and it makes sense. I mean, accountability, it's part of the whole Christian walk and lifestyle, is being accountable to others, to walking with other men, women walking with other women, in which you can confide, pray together. And the Bible backs that up, so that we're not alone, because the power of sin is in its secrecy. And the more this thing is hidden in the dark, the more it grows and has impact in our lives. So Chantelle, are you seeing more people coming out and speaking of free to chat about this issue of pornography in church settings?
Unfortunately, not as many as I would like. I was referring to the few people that have started to wake up with this righteous anger, that I've been connecting with. Though God's doing something in that arena, but for the most part, people are still, unfortunately, very quiet about this. And it's in my mind and in my heart, I feel it's putting our children at more of a risk than anything else. And perhaps it's because of our own sexual shame, our own sexual sin, whatever the case may be. We really need to trust God for breakthrough and revival in his church in this arena, because, pursuing purity, and that's why my book's called Parents in Pursuit of Purity, because it's not about the purity movement from the 90s. It's about something that's more of a moral issue. It's a heart issue. It's going deeper, and we saying, look at the impact that pornography has had. Pornography has only been around for a few decades, but yet we look at maybe the last 10 years that it's been readily available, accessible, anonymous online. And we've seen more sexual confusion and degradation, more sexual violence and crime than ever before in the history of the world.
Yeah.
And so it's not about being a rocket scientist to make those connections. It's had an impact on society and on the church. But the church, that's where judgment begins. We need to first look at ourselves. We need to first find restoration and healing in this area for ourselves, and then we can help others.
Absolutely. Chantelle, so we spoke about the terrible and horrifying stats of teen pregnancies in our schools, which is now 100,000, over 100,000 per year, which it's climbing up to over 500,000 in 4 or 5 years. Over 14,000 children between the age of 10 and 14 got pregnant in our schools in a 4-year period. Over 14,000 children at 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old. This is a catastrophic moral failure in our nation. And yes. I'm shocked, but we're asking, where's the church in all of this? Why aren't people talking about this, even in the media? It's all kept silent. And so, Chantelle, are you going into schools to speak in school settings to children about the dangers of pornography?
Well, we are open to any opportunity, and we have in the past. Obviously, COVID has been complicated for many ministries. But we can just trust for more opportunities and hope for more opportunities where we can partner with people that are doing work in schools. So yes, absolutely. We have spoken to students, and we will continue to do so. And again, with the parents are so key to this, because it's the caregivers that are really responsible, I suppose, for keeping children sexually safe.
Yeah.
You know, I find a lot of parents want to pass the buck to the school or the church, but it really comes down to the home situation. So we have found experience that is where our focus has been mostly, is with the caregivers themselves, and we're hoping that the children will turn to them if they are in need or if they are troubled in this situation. But I think that generally in South Africa, sexuality and sexual intimacy is not valued. So it's my heart that we raise the value a little bit. You know, something is given away very easily when it's not valued. So I feel like we have a culture of, there's so much that our country faces, poverty and joblessness, that we actually come to the point that sex is like at the bottom of the radar. You know, it's like the bottom of the line, because people need jobs and people need food and people need shelter. So what is sex in all of this? You know, it's sort of come to that point that it's not valued and it's not seen as something significant. It's not a significant human experience, you know, part of survival.
Absolutely. So Chantelle, you know, you're so right, because we can see the devastation of sexual exploitation, abuse, rape, teenage pregnancies on our society. And it's something that we need to be addressing a lot more so that we can get to the root of the problem and help people. So Chantelle Blokdyk, I'm going to thank you once again for the great work you're doing, creating awareness, speaking at schools. You're open to speak to schools, at churches, any kinds of groups on this topic, because you have a wealth of information. And I think it's a topic that needs to be ventilated a lot more so that people become aware of the dangers of pornography. So all your information is on the screen right now, how to contact Chantelle, get that book, and even the filters and protections for you and your family. So good night and God bless you. Thank you again for tuning in to the program. We'll see you next week.